Alright, hey everyone, welcome back to Minecraft Star Destroyer building. So this is part 2 of the tutorial. As you can see, I made a few changes here. Today we're going to be learning about this thing called slanting and leveling. That's what I like to call it. If anybody else likes to call it something different, it sucks for them. So the first thing that I want to teach you is that you're always going to use slabs in conjunction with blocks in order to achieve the slant. The color is entirely up to you. You have to figure out your color palette based on what the ship looks like. If it's gray, I would definitely recommend going with something like stone. If it's more whitish, like a Star Destroyer, whitish gray, then I would definitely recommend going with stone blocks. And whatever, if you could get andesite slabs, or I'm sorry, diorite slabs, I would do that. But because we can't, I'm going to go with the closest, most white-looking slab that I could, which was the stone slab. Maybe I can't get a diorite slab, but I'm used to using stone slabs. So anyway, so all you need to know for now is that you just use a block and a slab in order to achieve this. So there's a few rules with the slanting, as it's called. The first thing is that, let me take you back here to demonstrate. Actually, let me take you to the front to tell you one thing real quick. The first rule of slanting, in my opinion, is where does your Star Destroyer want to end? So as you can see, I did something like this. As you can see, I've covered the outer layer of all of these blocks with stone slabs, except for the end here. And the reason I do that is because if I wanted it to be pointier at the end, then I could do something like this. But because I don't want it to be pointier at the end, I'm going to do something more like this. Right, because I want it to have more of a flat end to the end of my ship. Another thing I'd like to mention is that I'm always going to do this. I'm never going to go out here, and I'm never going to go out here. And I'm going to explain this in a minute. So basically what this means is that, as you can see, there's one slab, 2 blocks, 2 slabs, and then 1 block, right? So the way that you figure out your pattern is you figure out how tall you want your ship to be. And because I want my ship to be a little thinner in height, right? Because I don't want it to be super tall and fat, like once it reaches the middle, it's not like so super wide. It's nice and thin. Then I'm going to slant in quicker, right? If I wanted it to be a little fatter, then I would go for a pattern something like this. For beginners, I would definitely recommend following this exactly the same for your line, right? So, and you always trade off. So every time you're about to place a block, you place a slab instead. And then you place a block, and then you place a slab. And then you do a block, and you place a slab. And you always, always alternate. Same thing, right? And that's how you make it fatter. You always, always, always alternate your block, slab, no matter what you're doing. So even if I go back with the same pattern, right? I'd place 2 blocks, and then I'd place 2 slabs to make it thinner. Right? You never place a slab on here or near a block. You always do block, then slab. So that way it looks better. You could do block and slab. That's totally fine, but then you get confused. So to keep yourself organized, just do slab, block, and then slab. And then that's how you do the slanting. So now what I'm going to explain is leveling. And what leveling is it's basically just pulling the slanting back. It's creating this back layer back here, right? Did I do this right? Oh, no. Okay. So what you do is well, first of all, you figure this out. Like that. There we go. So what you do is you build your slant, right? Depending on how tall you wanted it to be. If you wanted it to be super fat, super wide, whatever. I wanted it to be like this, so this is how I'm going to go. And you can always do patterns, but the one rule I want you to follow is never ever take this out more than 1. Always, always keep your outermost layer, which is right here, at 1 slab. That's it. The innermost layer could be 2 blocks, could be 3 blocks, 4 blocks, 5, 6, 7, doesn't matter. But the outermost layer of slabs will always, always stay as just 1 slab on the outermost layer, no matter what you're building. That's the only rule I want you to follow. So now let's learn about leveling. So what you want to do with leveling is you want to pull your slanting back. So now that you've got your slanting down as to how tall you want your Star Destroyer to be, then you're going to take your leveling back. What you're going to do for this is you're going to go back the same way each time, right? So instead of going like that and saying, oh, boom, I'm done, what you do is because this is too wide, every single other block has to be too wide. So that would look like this. right? So now let's take a look at that. See how every other block is too wide, with one exception, obviously at the end here, and that's because it closes off at the end. And when it closes off at the end like that, don't worry about it. That you're actually doing something right. That's exactly what it's supposed to do, because when it closes off like that, that means that you're filling in those gaps. But every other block needs to be too wide, so it can follow back on the exact same pattern, so that your slanting aligns well with your leveling, right? So it goes back in the exact same pattern, same way. You do the same thing here, right? Instead of stopping here, no, you want to go back 2 blocks. Not 3 blocks, because then that messes up your pattern, right? And then if you try and go back here, see, check this out. Oh no, I've got a bit of a problem. What? This looks wonky. Why is this off like that? Why is that offset by a block, right? All you do is you just take that out, so you make that 2 blocks, 2 blocks, 2 blocks. So it's 2 blocks wide, same thing. I should say 2 slabs wide, but it's too wide, and you go back the same way throughout the whole thing. And obviously this is now 1 wide, but the only difference here is that we're actually just filling in gaps, right? We're not taking it back anymore. We physically cannot go too wide. So because of that, we're going to make it 1 wide. And then same thing here. We physically cannot go too wide on each side, so we have to make it 3 wide. But because we physically can go too wide on this side, we're going to make it 2 wide. Same thing here, right? So long as you can make it 2 wide, make it 2 wide. And then you're going to do the same thing here. And obviously, since I'm done with this, then I would just be filling in the rest. And that's all you really have to do for that. You have to make everything else 2 wide, but then once you can't make it 2 wide anymore, like here, you would just fill it in like normal. And that's basically how you would do leveling and slanting. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and I'll see you in the next part of this tutorial, where we're going to learn about how to copy this onto the other side and how to bevel at the back.